The content on this platform may not align with the views of a certain party or organization. It's important to note that the views and opinions expressed on a platform are often those of the individual contributors and not necessarily reflective of the organization. In this case, Caribbean American news media may not be held responsible for the content posted by its contributors. It's important for individuals to critically evaluate the information they encounter and consider multiple sources before forming their own opinions. If you have specific concerns about the content on the platform, it may be helpful to address them directly with CAM. The content
For a brighter future for all. Let's get to work. Welcome to Building Bridges, Conversations on Social Development, where we explore the power of connection, collaboration, and community in shaping a more inclusive and prosperous world. Join us as we delve into the key issues, innovative solutions, and inspiring stories that drive positive change and empower individuals and communities to thrive. Let's embark on this transformative journey together, uniting hearts and minds for a brighter future for all. Let's get to work with Garfield Oliver of Caribbean American News Media.
Every budget we delivered, every investment we attracted, every infrastructural project we approved, and those we re-engineered are meant for our children, our future, our solution. The United Workers' Party. Let's keep working. Over the past 5 years, every single decision we have taken has been to fertilize prosperity for today and to sow the seeds of progress for our nation 10 years from now. Every budget we delivered, every investment we attracted, every infrastructural project we approved, and those we re-engineered are meant for our children, our future, our solution. The United Workers' Party. Let's keep working.
All right, my friends, greetings and welcome once again to Caribbean American News Media Platform. We are here live with you, my friends, on air and online. Yes, we are on air and online here at Caribbean American News Platform. Folks, you can share the live as you join. We have a guest with us tonight. Yes, he is an expert in the field, very experienced in the field of security. I would say national security. He is the right person for this time. All right. But folks, share the live, share the live, share the live, share the live. Please share the live. Those of you over on our YouTube channel, we welcome you to the platform 360 Radio. Welcome. And those of you over on our Facebook page, greetings to you. Welcome to Caribbean American News Media Platform. It is good to be back, folks, after a long vacation out there in Florida. And today I end up at the beach up in Long Island. Yes, my friends, but it is good to be here with you. Share the live, folks. Share the live. Share the live. Tonight, we will be discussing national security. We will be discussing a lot of, there's a lot to discuss. I am telling you, it's a lot. And so we want to start very early. I'm going to invite you to share the live as you come in. Let all the folks know that we're on. However, let me just put something in here. The number to call has changed for tonight, only for tonight. And I'm going to pin this number on the Caribbean American News platform here. We're going to pin it. That's the number that will get you online. 347-623-9183. We cannot get online with the 929-586-182 number. So we will have to make some adjustments there on the number on the banner. Just bear with us. Let's see how quickly we can get this number situated. Yes, bear with us, folks. We got to adjust the number. Yes. Okay, so just give me 1 second. As you share, please share. Blessings to all, blessings to all, blessings to all. All right, so our new number, it is up above my head on the screen, 347-623-9183. You can WhatsApp us on that number. Ensure, friends, that you call in with your concerns, your questions for my guests tonight, okay? Let us switch our screen. We're going to switch our screen, and we're going to introduce. Good night to all. Good night, folks. Good night. It's good to see so many of you coming in so quickly. Thank you so much. Please share. Let's make it a big night tonight for national security, friends. All right? Let's introduce our guests for the night. We want to get straight into business, friends. I cannot greet everybody individually, but I say greetings to all. Welcome and welcome again to you. I miss you a lot, and it is good to be back on the platform. I promise you that I'm going to be here with you even after the next elections, God's willing. And so I am going to stick to that commitment. But thank you so much for your support and your love. My guest tonight is, and I call him the Honorable. And, you know, I can put a doctorate behind him because he's a good man. And I always say to you, St. Lucia, you sometimes wait until all your good people are either in the grave, in a different country, working for another government, for you to acknowledge them. And tonight, here at Caribbean American News, we want to acknowledge one of our own, and that is the Honorable Hermangild Francis. Yes, my friends, he is one of us. He has put his life on the line over and over for the security of his nation, of his people. And here he is with us tonight. And I found out, by the way, and I'm going to bring him on, I found out that Dr. Powell is a good friend of our brother, the Honorable Francis. And I was happy when I found that out, that we were in good hands, in good company, even as United Workers Party. So we are United Workers Party strong. You know, we have the right people with us to get the job done. What I can tell you is that you are in trouble, one, with your leader, who is responsible for national security. That's all I can say to you, and many of you would have already figured that out, all right? So let me introduce my guest. He's none other than, I believe, former National Security, Minister of National Security in the Alan Chasney government, United Workers Party, former administration. He is an expert in policing, in security in your country, friends. And tonight we're going to be talking, and I want you to engage him. I want you to call, share the live with everybody, share it with Philip Chipe. I want him to come on to university tonight, all right? This is a good place for him to be, because when you ask him questions about national security, you ask him what is happening, he tell you that he don't give guns to the criminals. That's his response to you. So tonight we're going to have university-style approach here on the platform. All right, folks? So let me just again welcome Mr. Honorable Francis to the platform. I believe it's your first time, and we're happy to have you here with us.
Thank you very much, Garfield. It's a pleasure to be with you. I knew you'd have called me and invited me to your platform after Dr. Witt had spoken to you, because this is one gentleman that I think has the Caribbean at heart. He really wants to see the betterment for all the countries in the Caribbean, and as long as he is engaged, he will do what he has to do to see things go much better. Having said that, Garfield, I took the opportunity because when we speak sometimes on the local areas like Spain and other places, people take the tendencies to, they polarize the whole thing. So those who are UWP will call and say, yes, that's good. The Labour Party will do the opposite. And I'm getting a little tired of that, because at the end of the day, it is our country that belongs to all of us. And whether you are Labour or Flabo, and you have a point of view that can help, then I think it should be embraced. So as we start, I want to thank the Honorable Alan Shasley for giving me that opportunity to serve as the Minister, and listen to the portfolios there very carefully. The Minister of Home Affairs, Justice and National Security. I was the chief security at Windjammer Landing Resort. And this was an area, a place where, the reputation was atrocious. I was brought in and I turned Windjammer over to now being the best secured premises on island when it comes to hotels. Up to now, they're still rated as the best. And Alan Chasney recognized that and invited me to join his cabinet. I was a little reluctant too because I knew the salary that I was going to be getting as a minister was minuscule compared to what I was getting at Windjammer. But my pride and my enthusiasm in serving my country, I decided that I would take it. The rest is history. But I must say that Alan Chasney put a lot of thought into looking at that ministry, because he combined Home Affairs and National Security, which really is the same. Then there's no difference there. It's just, I don't know. I can't even understand why that was done in the first place. And then to link it to justice, because the police, bodily, and the justice system must work hand in hand. So that was very good. But it was an awesome task that I was given. And when we came in, I remember on the political hustings, I said, the first meeting I spoke on the United Workers' Party platform, I actually said that whichever party that wins the next election will have a very difficult time in dealing with crime. And that was based on the fact that we had now the Leahy Law was imposed on us. This is a history by itself.
Yeah.
And Dr. Kenny Anthony must take the full responsibility for what transpired. We have laws in our country, and when somebody is dead, the king wants to know how you died. In what circumstances, under what circumstances, whether anybody is responsible for it,
right,
and whether anybody should pay. So our laws take care of that. And most of the cases had already gone through the inquest areas. And so to come back and bring Jamaican police officers here to reinvestigate and do those sort of things was not right.
And that was as a result, sorry about that, that was as a result of the ORC, Operation Restore Confidence.
Restore Confidence, yes. And he used that, while he was in opposition, to make political gain, indicating that the police were corrupt, there were ministers of government involved and businessmen and so on. And then even when he won the elections, he came to Parliament and said, here's the list. Here's the list. And I was correct and so on. What has happened since? Where is that politician? Where is that businessman? Where are the police officers that are supposed to be corrupt? Nothing has happened. But he did that to win an election. And St. Lucians allowed it and they accepted it. At the end of the day, the police force is the one that paid the ultimate price. They were not given any training. Imagine I went to the FBI in 1997. And then in 1999, I think Superintendent Fridges went. Fridges, sorry. Since then, no police officer has gone to the FBI. In other countries in the Caribbean, for you to be able to get the promotion to the rank of assistant commissioner, it is a prerequisite that you do the FBI course. None of the senior police officers presently in the police force have done that. None of them have done the junior command and part 1 and part 2, but the senior command has been held in Jamaica. None.
And why is that? Is it as a result of the Leahy Law?
As a result of the Leahy Law, because these courses are funded by the Americans and they will not allow you to participate.
Let me
Even
ask you.
the RSF.
Yes, sorry about that. But can you tell us a little about the Leahy Law? A lot of St. Lucians don't understand what it's all about. Well,
the Leahy Law came about, I think, one of the congressmen, I can't remember his first name,
Patrick
but Mr. Leahy,
Patrick
Patrick,
Lee from
brought this
Vermont.
yes, he brought this on because there were some countries that were abusing their rights and doing a lot of things to their citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So he indicated that any country that falls within that parameter, then the Americans will not support them. And so, based on what has happened, the investigations and things that were said, the Americans gave us this ultimatum that we do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, the Leahy Law is there, so our police officers would not be able to be trained. And that was, detrimental to the police force, completely detrimental. So moving on, we did that, and that is what I said when we came in. Like I predicted earlier, that whichever party that won the government would have had issues to deal with this matter. And this was paramount in my mind. And I can tell you that I fought hard. And even the director of Southcom, Admiral William, he would say to other persons that if only the St. Lucians knew the amount of effort this minister has put in when he came to try and reverse the Leahy Law, they would give him a medal. I actually walk out on meetings in Miami. I walked out of the meeting and I said that we need to stop this thing being done to St. Lucia. We have not done anything wrong, and so we need to be taken off that list. And when I couldn't get them to say yes, they would, I walked out, and I refused to go back to any of these meetings. Okay, they reported me to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister gave me support. Thank God, he gave me support, or he'd have had me. But
So you had a good leader.
Yes, very good leader, and that is what I'm saying at the end of the day. So based on our interventions with the Leahy Law, we are able to convince the Americans, so much so that the ambassador in Barbados came here and had an interview saying reasons why they were relaxing the Leahy Law and those sort of things and so on. Okay, one of the first questions I asked her, I said, now that you have relaxed the Leahy Law, can I get my people going back to the FBI? And she laughed. And we already had somebody earmarked to go to the FBI. Unfortunately, we lost the elections, and nothing has happened since. So it is really, really bad.
So let me ask you. So after the last elections,
yes,
nothing was done concerning our police getting the training from the United States?
Up to now. The only thing that has happened, that solutions have participated, there's an exercise called UNIX that the Americans and the other Caribbean countries come together. It was held, last year it was held in Guyana. St. Lucia participated for the first time in almost 15 years. This year it was held in St. Lucia. So you can see that there is some movement with the Americans. But nothing else has happened.
But that movement, it's as a result of the efforts of the United Workers' Party.
Exactly. Alan Shasney, the Prime Minister, and myself, we went to Barbados a number of occasions, a number of times, putting extreme pressure on the ambassador. Okay, and I traveled into some of the areas like Puerto Rico and Miami, walking out to show my displeasure. It actually worked. So we started seeing some progress. But I hope that everything is removed as soon as possible so the police officers can do the requisite courses that they need to do.
So let me just go back a bit, Mr. Francis. When the United Workers' Party got into power.
No, office.
Into office, sorry, not power. Into office. What did you find there when it comes to crime and crime management, crime fighting in the country?
But when we got there, crime was alive and well, I could tell you that. Because for the first year, there were about 54 homicides in 2016. So crime was there. We can't run away from it. But the police, the solve rates for the police were also much higher than what it is now. So that meant that the police officers, especially the older ones, had some level of training. We had people like Chico and all those persons who had done very well in the fingerprinting and so on, and had passed it on to the scenes of crime officers presently here. So we were doing fairly well in solving some of these homicides. But crime was always an issue for the government, always an issue. Even before we came in, it was an issue. And so what we need to do now is to give the police officers the requisite training that they need. That is the only way that maybe you can slow down the crime, is by solving it. The more crimes you solve, the less the possibility, because the guys know that you are so good that you will solve the matter and deal with them. Just like when we brought in the forensic lab. Okay, the forensic lab came in, and as soon as they came in, they were able to assist the police with about 5 or 6 homicides. They were so good that they actually went to Guyana to deliver matter there, and they were able to help the Guyanese government in that thing. Nobody has given the United Workers' Party any praise for that, but we don't need any praise. What we need is to see that things get better and better. And so even now, I must also thank the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, because when he came in, we were supposed to have the lab certified, and we had not paid. But when he came in, he actually paid that.
Good.
Okay, so that was a very good thing on his part. And so when I saw that, I was saying, well, okay, that the Prime Minister is going to follow in what we started doing, because he understood exactly what it is all about.
That's right.
But I don't know, he just took an about turn, and everything that the United Workers' Party would suggest to him was not good. We look at the formation of the ministry itself. Like I said, you took away Home Affairs and gave it to Virginia. Home Affairs is the police, borderly, and the fire service. All it talks about is the equipment that you have to buy for them, the courses that you're supposed to send them on, and those sort of things. And national security is really the operational aspect. So when there's crime there, how do you deal with it? Are the CID men versed in processing the scenes of crime and those sort of things?
But why would those ministries be separated?
I have no idea. And in fact, I shouldn't say I have no idea. I suspect that the Prime Minister and the St. Lucia Labour Party recognize the amount of pressure, the amount of criticism that they gave me as the minister. Imagine people like Kenny Anthony calling me the worst minister of national security. Philip J. Pierre did the same thing. Ernest Hilaire. All of them were criticizing me and saying all sorts of things. Now, there are 4 ministers doing the very job that I alone was doing. And it is even worse. My highest homicide rate was 60 in 2017. And there's a story behind the 60, because at least 50% of that 60 were domestic violence issues. Brother killing brother, girlfriend stabbing boyfriend, and so on.
Yep.
Okay, but again, I couldn't take any solace in that. The United Workers' Party could not beat their chest and say, well, okay, well, it's this and that. Crime is crime, and we have to try and stop it as much as possible. And so we never gloated about it. We never did anything.
Mr. Francis,
I didn't take time.
Sorry
yes, go ahead.
What is your take on the K9 unit? Whose idea was?
The K9 unit was the idea of the Prime Minister and this minister. We sat and we brainstormed among the cabinet ministers, and all of us agreed that this is what we're going to do. We didn't have any dogs in St. Lucia. So as an initial step, we had to take dogs from Trinidad, on loan. That's what we did. So we brought in about 4 dogs. We brought in the handlers. So we had to pay for accommodation, pay for the upkeep of these dogs, because these dogs are highly sensitive dogs. So the vet and everybody must be involved. Yeah. The living conditions of this dog must be up to a certain standard, that they don't get fleas and insects and so on. So it's around $40,000 a month was what it took to deal with this. But most of the times, it wasn't the government actually taking the money and paying for it. There is there's a section of the law that gives us Proceeds of Crime Act. The Proceeds of Crime Act allows the police, allows the government to use some of the proceeds of that fund and to purchase vehicles and to give them police equipment and so on. So that was one of the sources for paying for the maintenance and upkeep of the dogs.
So basically, the dogs were paying for themselves.
Yeah, they were paying for themselves, and most of the times, and you remember there was an interview with Philip J. and Commissioner Daisy, and I mean in the presence of the Prime Minister, he said that if the dogs go out 5 times, they would be successful on at least 3 occasions.
Yes, I heard that.
They would get guns, they would get dogs, they would get money, drugs, they would get firearms and other illicit things. So the dogs were very, 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 very good. There's a container at one of the establishments up north. Up to now, the dogs were the ones that sniffed it, the drugs on the wharf.
What about that container?
You know,
the container's still there?
That's what I think it's still there. I think it's still there. So but that is something that I don't think I want to discuss because it's an ongoing investigation. But it's there. Yes. Yeah. So the dogs were doing what they were doing. As a matter
of fact, dogs would not a burden on the state.
Not at all.
But I heard Mr. Healy, when he came in, and I believe Richard and some of those guys saying, well, $40,000 is too much and we got to review it and blah, blah, blah. And immediately the dogs were removed.
Yes. But like I told you, Garfield, it's that we in St. Lucia, we tolerate a lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
Immediately that had been done, there should have been a public outcry. Okay? Whether it was UWP or Labour that did it, there should have been a public outcry. But it was Labour who did it. But nothing, this passivity in this country, as long as the Labour Party is in office, people are quiet. Why? I can guess or speculate that they are afraid. Especially when you have some of the persons that are presently in this government. You have to be afraid. You have heard so many things. You know, Kenny Anthony said that one of those persons was the most dangerous and individual to enter politics in St. Lucia.
Yes.
He then said when he made his address that it was politicians and businessmen and corrupt police officers. Now you're hearing certain ministers telling you that corrupt police officers are giving them evidence. So, I mean, you don't have to mention anybody's name.
No.
St. Lucians know, they know, but they are afraid. They are afraid. Had it been me, Alan Chasney, Guy Joseph, any of those persons, Ezekiel, that had done anything like that, we would have been roasted.
That's right.
We would have been roasted.
That's right.
And like I told you, and even in Parliament, Kenny Anthony tried to degrade me when we talked about the forensic lab. Oh, well, that item not done, that item not done, that item not done. Not realizing at least the lab was up. Under his watch, it was down.
It was down.
Under my watch, it was up and functioning properly. Okay, now he has the opportunity to talk about crime. Not a word. He says nothing. This was the time for him to speak about crime, for him to advise his prime minister that enough is enough. Let us embrace the opposition and see how best we can handle this thing. I have told people and Philip that if I was called to assist, I will assist. But I will not attend a cabinet meeting with Richard Frederick sitting there. I will not do it. I will not do it.
And Kenny Anthony said the same thing that you said.
I'm always saying a man is as good as his word. And when we listen to politicians in this country, who people respect and say they are good people, and they cannot keep their word, how can you be good? How can you be good? You're a hypocrite.
Yep.
All right? And most of these guys, they are hypocrites. When Richard Frederick was a member of the United Workers' Party, he was the devil incarnate. He was the worst thing St. Lucia had ever seen. Now, he's the best thing. You know, you can't speak about the man. The man can do whatever he wants. You cannot come say anything about him. But I will say what I have to say.
Yep.
Because I'm not afraid of anybody.
And that's why I have great respect for you. Yep. Yeah. But Mr. Francis, so when you, and I'm still at the United Workers' Party taking over from the SLP. First of all, there was no lab. The lab was not up.
Nope.
The radar was down.
Was down. No
the canine, no canine. unit.
K9.
The scanners
Destroyed.
destroyed. The radar,
Yes.
no radar.
Down. No radar.
Down. What
The
else?
police boats, no engines.
No engine. Wait a minute.
No, I'm
Wait.
telling
You,
no
you,
engines.
Mr. Francis, I think this is a joke because I
No,
am
it's
going
not a
down the
joke.
list
Yes.
and you're telling me that we were operating by faith and not by sight.
But that is it. We had nothing whatsoever. Nothing. Okay? There was nothing. So if you were to allow me sometime maybe to go down and give you some of the things.
Go ahead.
that
Go ahead. I'm going to give you the time, sir.
So good. So when I came in as a minister,
Yeah.
my second year, I became the chairman of the RSS, right? Regional Security System. We had a hurricane, can't remember the name of the hurricane in Dominica. But as the minister with responsibility for RSS, I found myself in Dominica on the ground with the police officers there, even before the prime minister and the minister of security in Dominica. The guys couldn't believe that. When I sat there, they only got to know that I was the minister from St. Lucia when Mr. Daisy told them that this is the minister. And the guy said, no, how can the minister just come and sit there, with his little short pants like anybody else and not, mingling with everybody, drinking his tea in a little cup. And the guys, if you heard the things they said, when they realized, and then the commissioner came in, about because we are compatriots, we are police officers together. And then he took me to his office to meet the senior officers. And the gentlemen were so happy. Our magistrates were stranded in Grenada, in Dominica. I was able to get the RSS to fly them out and so on. These are the things that I did. I didn't just sit and talk. I don't talk. I do things. There was the director of the RSS. Every year, his contract had to be renewed. Go through this process and thing. And I said, no, we cannot have continuity with that sort of thing. And I recommended to the other ministers that we change it to a 3-year contract. And up to a day like today, the gentleman is still there as the chairman of as the director of the RSS. I took decisions. I made things happen. That is what it's all about. So I will just tell you some of the things that we did, because now I believe as long as they give you 2 vehicles, there's a big ceremony to hand over 2 or 5 vehicles. Foolishness. This is something that you must give to the police.
Yeah.
So when we got in the judiciary, there was only one function in court. Okay, Naira court at VG. We paid almost $900,000 to refurbish it and make it what it is today. Okay, we had the courthouses. I got a building where there are now 4 courtrooms operating. I increased the number of judges from 3 to 4. And I will say something here tonight that persons may take me to task for, but I have to say it because it seems to be something that some judges and the judiciary feel that they live in outer space, and whatever is happening in the country when it comes to crime, that they're immune. They're above this, and it cannot be right. I remembered and I said that we have over 400 persons at bodily on remand, and this is
400?
untenable. Yes, you can't have so many persons on remand there, and some of the guys are there for 5-10 years. The cases, they cannot hear the cases. Okay? So we recommended that we have what we call bench trials. Okay, so some of these cases would have been done with only judge sitting, no jury, because they just come from COVID. But to get this legislation and thing in place, I realize it's going to take some time. I recommended to the Chief Justice at the time and said to her that Justice Lauren Williams had just retired. She's a St. Lucian. She lives in St. Lucia. Can you appoint her for 2 years as a judge to deal with the remand population at Bodley? And the judge flatly refused. Flatly refused. I kept quiet because I knew I would have said more, but I just kept quiet. But that is the reality. That is the reality. Today you hear what's happening in Grenada with Justice Innocent. You
Innocent,
saw what
yeah.
happened with Justice Innocent in St. Lucia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And we preach that every day, that there must be a separation between the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive.
Yep.
But sometimes the executive sometimes should be able to intervene. How do you take these kind of decisions, okay, and allow that to go, and then you blame the government because there are 400 persons at Bodley on remand? Cannot be right. Bodley has one of the best courthouses you can find on island. Best.
At
And
Bodily.
a judge gets up, yeah, at Bodley. And a judge gets up one morning and says that this place is too far, and to go into the prisons, he's not going there again, and close down the place. No judges go there. You know what I mean? These are the things that should not happen. The judges should understand what is happening. And I always make reference to a judge, the Chief Justice of Barbados. I'm trying to remember his name.
Chief
Sir David
Justice.
Simmons.
Who?
Yes, Sir David Simmons. Sir
David.
David Simmons.
Yes.
He was a Barbadian politician. I think he was representing a parish of St. Peter, one of them. He had never lost his seat, right? Never lost. So he's somebody like Kenny Anthony and Philip J. Pierre.
Yeah.
Never lost. And then the Chief Justice retired. And the Prime Minister at the time, Owen Arthur, made a decision to make him the Chief Justice. So you could imagine, Garfield, the hue and cry in Barbados and in the Caribbean. A politician is now the Chief Justice. But I mean, he's a lawyer, so
yeah.
he understood the law. And do you know that after he left, he was recognized as one of the best Chief Justices that Barbados had, because he took decisions in the benefit of the public.
Right.
So we have this scourge of firearms. We are grappling with firearms. Like I told you, we have 400 remand people. Why not get rid of some of the remand persons? And then for the Chief Justice of the OECS to say that anybody found with a firearm, you will not get bail for the next 12 months.
That's right.
Try something, see how it works. And I'm sure the lawyers here would assist. They would not fight that, because they themselves are at risk. They would not fight it.
Yeah.
Good? But nothing whatsoever. Everything is hunky-dory, and you blame the politicians for this and you blame the politicians for that.
It's just a blaming game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will continue to tell you some of the things that we did.
Yes, sir.
You know, the appointment of more crown councils. We appointed a DPP. More crown councils. We introduced ICT in all courtrooms for Zoom trials. Additional staffing for the courts. Case managers for both high and low courts. Mediation services. The opening of a courthouse in Viewfort, which was closed for the last 3 years. But I was told that it might have been opened, and I'm happy to hear that.
So Viewfort had no court?
No court for the last 2.5 years. No, almost 3.5 years. I think it started on the watch. Salary increases for all judicial officers. Introduction, we were trying to introduce bench trials, like I said. Parole was introduced in St. Lucia. This has been in the criminal code for 20 years. And you have Kenny Anthony as a prime minister, as a lawyer, not recognizing that the law says that anybody at the prisons who has done 1/3 of the sentence, 1/3 of the sentence, is entitled for parole. Never happened before. We brought it in. But it went down. It came out a little hard for us, because the first person that was paroled was a guy down there for murder. So, but at the end of the day, they found out that he was not mentally
he was not stable.
Yeah, so of some mind to stand there. So listen, the expungement of convictions. There are some young people who are convicted for a joint of marijuana, a little assault, and a cursing of the police officer, trespassing, some things like that. That after about 10 years, your conviction was spent, but the police would still put it on the certificate of character. That was preventing a lot of young people from getting jobs. So we took it out. It's right in the criminal code. I didn't make it up. It's there. Okay. And so we have the expungement of criminal records.
Records, yeah.
We had the magistrate, Florida Nicholas, she was the chairperson, Pastor Ben, and some other people, and the commissioner was also a member of that board. So we did things, just did things, all right? Digitalization of court documents. So we had a lot of paper documents, and when you go to the courts, these things were all rotten.
Wow.
Persons were getting sick. Persons were getting sick. We employed young people to put that on the computer. Okay. You then had recording of court procedures bill. So now you can record what's happening in the court.
Wow.
All these things. Yeah. Well, okay. So I just do not understand why people saying yeah.
But when these politicians get on the media and they say to St. Lucians that the United Workers' Party did absolutely nothing while they were in office, that's a lie.
That's it. That's a lie. And I can tell you, we have some time. Let me just give you some of the things. And then
go ahead. I'm going to be all ears.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Fire Service Department, when we came in, there was no fire chief. There had not been a fire chief for the last so many years.
Wow.
So the guys were there, they were just crumbling. The fire service was, today the guys at work, tomorrow they work to rule, they're not doing anything and so on. As soon as we came in, I was able to get a chief and a deputy chief appointed. And I can tell you, the Fire Service Department turned from being very problematic to being my best service area. If I was living, if I had the money and things like that, I had to give a price, I would have given it to them. Because they turned about everything. They worked, especially during COVID. These guys did a human service to St. Lucia, putting themselves out there and so on. But the government gave them the equipment to use. So then, up to now, it's 3 years now, and this government has not purchased one new ambulance for the fire service because we had sufficient. Okay, we purchased some and donor agencies like Firemen Without Borders and so on from Canada gave us the equipment. So these things were there. There were officers who were acting in higher ranks for over 2 years. I was able to convince the Prime Minister to pay them for their hard work. All right? There were young officers who were getting paid before they reach their probation. So you join and you have to go 2 years before you confirm. Within those 2 years, the officers were not even too sure when they were going to get paid because appraisals had to be done on them from the division. It then goes to the headquarters. Then from headquarters, it goes to the public service. From public service to finance. So you imagine that sometimes 3 months these young officers did not receive their salaries. And I solved this issue on a radio talk show with Timothy Polion. I walked up Benadil and I went to his show. I said, Tim, this has been bothering me for a while. And today, I'm going to bring that to an end. So I'm coming to your show. I will call out the chief welfare officer and we will solve this. And he told me, but Hermangild, this is a very dangerous thing you're doing. The individual I know will challenge you. I said, that's good, but he has a point. He's fighting for his men. Okay? And we have to dish it out. Let the public hear what's the problem. We don't go to hide things. And so I mentioned his name. And it wasn't 2 minutes later he called. And we had a little to and fro and so on. And it was solved.
Wow.
Yeah, it was solved. It was solved. Okay, now the fire service is doing something, it's getting on well. So the probationers don't have any problems and so on.
Yeah.
We purchased plans for the chief for Crash Fire Hall in Viewport. And I remember very clearly, when we did that, we paid something like $1.5 million for it, but it actually cost $3 million. But Kenny Anthony had paid the first $1.5 million. And Gafford, when I was making my address, I thanked Kenny Anthony and St. Lucia Labour Party for the foresight that they had to put that deposit down, so that because we needed that equipment for the airport. So I'm not there to blame and to cast assertions about people. So right now we have a fire truck in St. Lucia that can deal with any of the high-rise buildings we have in Castries. Before it couldn't work. We had the Getty fire in William Peter Boulevard. Because of that inadequacy, the whole building went. So the truck is there now. There are lots of things we give the officers training. You know, the guy who is now the fire chief, Mr. Downs, went all over the place and so on. That is what we did. We didn't just stock. We did other things. Okay? Now, the police. We recognize that view fought. Again, that's Alan's foresight. That's what he really wanted. And I feel that if he gets the opportunity again, that the fortunes people in the south of the island will be very, very happy. He has this affinity for VFOT. He understands that VFOT is very, very important. You have an international airport. Yeah. You have a seaport there that can be developed so much. Which other part in St. Lucia has an airport on a deep water harbor like VFOT? And what is happening to VFOT possibly? Yep. So I know if he were to win the next election, that he is going to continue dealing with VFOT. So we automatically restructured the police force to reflect that the north of the island has an assistant commissioner. Okay, so we now give VFOT an assistant commissioner to show the interest and the possibilities that VFOT had. And this is working right now. It's working. Okay. They talk about vehicles all the time, and I didn't want to do that. But I have to, because when you hear people keep harping on something, making people believe that you did nothing. We purchased almost 80 vehicles for the police during our 5 years. And remember, we only had 3 years because COVID was on us.
Yes.
And we didn't have the kind of money to be able to spend. 80 new vehicles. When you look at the senior officers, if you see the kind of rights they have, it's better than the rights that the ministers have. That's what we did. That's the interest that we had in the police force. We brought in an insurance policy for a police officer if you were to die in a line of duty. Okay, of $500,000. $500,000. Police officers have now, the family has now benefited from that. That is what they do. These are the things that we did. Okay?
So the police officers, they're insured?
They're insured with a collective insurance, but we felt that we needed to go further because a police officer puts his life on the line, and at any time he can be snuffed off. So when you do that, let's say a police officer has his wife and he has about 3 children. When she's gone, when he's gone, there's nothing really. Okay, and we have seen police officers' wives and girlfriends and children suffer that, and we didn't want under us for another family to suffer this sort of thing. So we brought in that $500,000.
Wow.
We refurbished the Soufrière police station completely. It's a brand new station. The fire station in Soufrière, we had already identified a different area for them. That was how bad the station was. But then we said, okay, let us try and see if we can fix it. And the PS, my PS, I can tell you, take a little plug here and really, really, really congratulate with the staff of Home Affairs, Justice, and National Security. I mean, these PSCs and the workers there were phenomenal. And I hear people calling about certain PSCs need to be transferred because of this and so on and so on. I never had that issue. I believe the way you deal with people is the way they're going to deal with you.
That's right.
If you work with them, they will work with you. But if you try and push them around and demand that they do certain things that they themselves know is not right, then you have a problem. But that was not my style. As a matter of fact, Kafil, what I did was every month end, I would have a meeting for the DPP's office, the Commissioner of Police, the Fire Chief, the Director of Bodily, the PSs from the departments. We would meet. So today we'll meet at Home Affairs. And after about a year, what I did again was to allow the persons like the commissioner. So if you were having a meeting at the training school, I would allow the commissioner to chair the meeting. and I would sit next to him.
Good.
And if there was a question on policy, I would answer. But the everyday thing, the cooperation between units and so on, he would deal with it. So there was an agreement made that if the bodily needed some help from the police, the bodily director doesn't have to call the PS and say, well, PS, I have a situation there, I need 10 police officers and so on. And then for the PS to call the commissioner and then to organize things, that takes too long. So they were empowered to call the commissioner directly and tell the commissioner what it is. And the commissioner will respond. But immediately after, they would call the PS and tell the PS what has happened. So the PS would then inform me.
Yes. Yep.
But that's what I did with my ministries. Okay, so although it was very, very tight on me, but I had the support of those persons, and so it became easy. So new use of force policy, a new promotion policy, new radios. This was so sufficient that we were able to give the border officers and the fire service officers radios.
So let me tell you about the radios. About the radios, what the police officers would have been using for communication.
They were not using anything, because again, and that's why I told you that, you see, Alan Shasley, I think he was before his time. Alan Shasley would have meetings with every department when it comes to budget time. So you have your budget, you have to come and justify your budget. If you want 10 vehicles, you must come and justify the 10 vehicles. What is it the government and the people of St. Lucia are going to get out of giving you 10 vehicles? Okay, so if you were solving 5 homicides in 1 year, I give you 10 more vehicles. Are you going to solve 10 or 7? An increase, that sort of thing. But they'll just give you the vehicles. You have to be able to say you need the vehicles because this is going to happen and this is going to happen. So you make a projection. It may not work, but at least you do that. I took some police officers out of the police force. And this again is going back to the Operation Restore Confidence and the Leahy Law. That police officers should not investigate themselves for things like police shooting and police excesses. So I took police officers out. And there was no place for them at the time, so I housed them at the DPP's office. And eventually I sent them across to there's a service, I just can't remember the name now, the Integrity Commission. They are now housed in that building. And the intention was for them to deal with all police shootings, all police excesses, corruption from government ministers, corruption from PSCs, corruption from the public service on the whole. They would have that mandate. Again, there were some police officers who were in St. Lucia, British police officers. And one of them, I think his name is Peter something, but he helped Jamaica deal with their investigative unit. And so I called him and he said, yes, he would be happy to come to St. Lucia because he loves St. Lucia, to come and set up that unit.
Yeah.
Again, the unit would have been able to investigate their own people.
Yeah.
And again, I was going to be, because I couldn't make Miss Williams a judge, I was looking at her as being the person in charge of that unit. So when the cases came out, they would get the evidence and information and then pass it to her as a judge. She would peruse it and feel and see whether there is a case to be answered by the person being investigated. If not, she would then tell them, okay, well, you need to do this, you need to get this, you need to get. And when she is satisfied, she would have signed off and sent it to the DPP for action. That's what we are doing, and so I really don't understand why people do not see the benefit of what the United Workers' Party was doing.
Right. So remind me, did we have an active DPP, well-staffed?
When we came in, no. As a matter of fact, the DPP resigned on us just before we came in, so we didn't have any DPP.
Okay.
Getting a DPP there was like taking out teeth. Nobody wanted that position because they knew how difficult it was going to be with this Leahy Law, with the Operation Restore Confidence. When you have a prime minister making such outlandish things, and like I said earlier, the Coroner's Act is very clear now. Even if an inquest has been held, and further information is gleaned somewhere along the line, the AG can direct the DPP or the magistrate to have another inquest.
Yeah?
Okay? Yes.
That's the AG.
Now, any finding from the inquest that is sent to the DPP can read the file and the DPP can say, hello, this is hogwash, I'm not going to do anything about this. Or he can send it back and say, no, you conduct another one and look at so. That's the power that the laws of St. Lucia gives to our officials. But yet still Kenny Anthony decided to kowtow to the Americans, because all he was interested in was the money. All right? All he was talking about is for the Americans to give us money and for the Americans to do this and for the Americans to do that. Now, I must put a pin here. What he read on television and what he said is not that he's wrong, Trust me, it's not that he's wrong.
Concerning the impacts report.
Yes, it's not that he's wrong, He knows exactly what he's saying, but he's doing it in such a way as a lawyer. Okay, he's not bold enough to come out openly and say, well, this is it, this is that. Because you know what, the statements that, or the reports that we have in that impacts report, there's nothing much you can do about it. Because there's a lot of hearsay evidence.
So the impacts report is actually the
Jamaicans. But you see, we have impacts, which is a entity of the CARICOM. So they are stationed in Trinidad, and they're from different islands. I think we have one police officer from St. Lucia is on that team.
Yeah.
Right. So, and they're called impacts, implementation of action and so on.
Right.
So what they did now at the time, the leader was Francis Forbes. He's an ex-commissioner of Jamaica, Francis Forbes. So what Forbes did, obviously he would have known the Jamaicans better than the Trinidadians and St. Lucians and so on. So he utilized the Jamaicans to carry out that investigation. Okay? And that's why they call it the impacts report. But it's not any impacts report.
Yep.
It's a report from Jamaica, from the Jamaican police. And there again, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions about this. Were they working with the DPP? Were they working with the commissioner? Or were they working independently? All right. So there are a lot of things. It will take a whole 6 months to sit down and dissect the impacts report. All right. But like I told you, Kenny Anthony was not completely wrong. He knew exactly what he was saying. All right. But he did it in his lawyerly way so that he wouldn't find himself in any trouble. All right. And that's the problem. So I really don't understand why he did what he did. Okay.
How did the impacts people get involved in this whole Operation Restore Confidence?
No, they were not involved they were not involved in the Operation Restore Confidence.
The investigations.
Right, the investigations. Like I said, Impact is a CARICOM entity.
Right.
So the Caribbean CARICOM pays for the maintenance of the impacts department.
Who invited them?
Well, Kenny Anthony.
Okay. So I'm reading something here, right? I believe it is from one of the local newspapers in St. Lucia from 2021.
Yes.
And the title is Impacts. Hermangild Francis blames Kenny Anthony that attempted to reenact the history of the Impact saga. Francis told reporters that before 2011 elections, Dr. Kenny Anthony and other Labour Party officials visited the U.S. Embassy in Barbados. He said they gave the Americans damning information about a minister of the United Workers' Party at the time. As a result, Francis said the Americans revoked the individual's visa.
Yes, that is correct. And like I said, I'm consistent. I'm not changing my word. I have not said anything different. That is exactly what had happened. Okay?
So
And that is
the
why
Labour
I'm telling you,
Party
politics. Yes.
on the Kenny Anthony went over to Barbados
Yes.
to provide them with information
Yes.
concerning a United Workers' Party member at the time.
Yes. But not only Kenny Anthony, you know. Even the Prime Minister at the time, Stephen King, did that too, you know.
Yeah?
Don't leave him out. Don't leave him out of it.
No, because I never heard
He was
his
kind of part
name.
of it because he brought, no, because he sent Jenin Compton went to Barbados too.
Mm-hmm.
She went,
Yeah.
and he's the one who sent her. So you understand what the image that's there.
This is a real bouillon, I can tell you.
Yes, that's it.
So
Okay, that is what it is.
So this stain, this blight that hangs over the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, it is as a result of no one else but Kenny Anthony.
Exactly. So when he's coming up now with all this new statements, don't be surprised at anything you see happening in politics. You know, hogwash.
Well, we are
You know,
surprised.
and every day I call Timothy Polian when I hear this thing. I tell Timothy he should never be playing this. Not from somebody who doesn't keep his word. You know, you can't put these fellas together, Muhammad Ali and other people when they make statements. It's not right. It cannot be right. You know, he makes his statements just to suit his own self.
Mm-hmm.
Today, when he made a statement indicating that PSCs now should be like almost like attached to the minister. So if after the election that PSC should leave, and then who's going to carry on the work?
What's a mess in government, huh?
Yeah, what are you? But he did it before. You understand? A lot of the PSCs they were taken out. Persons like Ernest Hilaire and those persons became PSCs. You understand? So the man he's been consistent. He's been consistent. Then you expect that things are going to be different. So, you know, like I said, the crime will not abate unless this government decides to show some leadership. All right?
And that is what is lacking. Leadership. Yeah.
Show some honesty and integrity. Okay? Give us some role models in government so that the young people can see what is happening. You know? Yeah. And the police officers, like I said, is not going to be an overnight thing. It's going to take a long time for this police force to get back to anywhere close to what it was before. You know, the commitment of the police officers, the honesty of the older police officers. It will take a long time. These police officers has to be looked at as the guardians of our society, and they have to get the remuneration that is necessary for that.
That's right.
Yes, sir. You give them the training, all the training necessary. Philip J. Pierre talks about interference with the police force. Yes, interference with the police force. And I must go there.
Yeah.
I remembered, right, in 2020, I wanted to make a change with the discussions with Cabinet and the Prime Minister that we call Mr. Daisy back, who had just retired, call him back and use Mr. Mosheri as my advisor for the police force. Now, you have to look at two things. Elections was in 2021. Mr. Mosheri would have been leaving the police force in June of 2021. So almost about a month before the elections, right?
Yeah.
Who was going to lead the police force into elections? With the other persons who were there, not having the experience or anything whatsoever with an election process. So that was one of the reasons. The second reason is that I wanted to do a sort of analysis of what the police have. So we're going to look at the strength of the police force, whether the police force is the numbers are correct, all right? So we can make an assessment. Because to give the police force 70 police officers, doesn't make any sense because attrition alone, okay, will cover that.
That's right.
So let's say for the last 2 years, 100 police officers have left. You're now giving them 70. You haven't done anything. Just like the vehicles, we give them 80 vehicles. After 3 years, a police vehicle, okay, works 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So it deteriorates very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And so you have to replace it. The other thing is that with the police vehicles is that any police officer jumps in the vehicle and drives it. Okay, we are looking at getting specialist drivers for this vehicle so that they make sure that they check the oil, they do this, they do that the vehicles can last. Right? That is what we are looking at. So at the end of the day, you know, Mosheri was going to do that for me. He was going to look at the vehicle stock. He was going to look at the manpower. He was going to look at the training needs. He was going to specify what sort of training that the police officers need at the different levels of the police force. We are looking at see how we can have a succession plan drawn out for the police force. Those were the things that Mosheri would have done. And having been in another 2 years, Mosheri would have worked with this new government because they won. And the government now would have been in a much better place than what it is. So I had discussions with Mr. Mosheri. I had discussions with Mr. Daisy. And I had discussions with the Welfare Association. That is why when all three persons were in agreement, Mr. Mosheri was actually advising Mr. Daisy on some of the things that he should continue and what he should do and so on, and that he has his back with him and so on. That was the cordial decision that was taken. All right? But then in came Mr. Pierre, criticized me vehemently for that. Said all sorts of things, I interfered in the police force and everything. What did he do? The very same thing. He called somebody who was retired and brought them back into the police force. Right? And then he went on to get persons promoted without going through the process. So people like Ronald Phillip, who left the rank of superintendent and became deputy commissioner, never went for an interview, never applied for the position, never went through any polygraph test. Nothing like that was done. All he did was he took whoever he wanted, and I'm saying that now, that there's a meeting. He asked Ronald Phillip to bring the senior officers to him so he can speak to them. And a lot of the senior officers said they're not going. Because why is the Prime Minister want to speak to us in his personal capacity? If you want to speak to us, you speak to us as members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. They didn't go. But everyone who went got promoted. Those who didn't go didn't get promoted.
And that's a fact.
And you tell it's a fact. Okay, the Public Service Commission can then call us and ask us to show the applications where these persons, applied for the positions. When were the interviews conducted? What are the scores and this sort of thing? Nothing whatsoever. And then you recognize that the person that he really wants to be commissioner is faced with some allegation. What does he do? Instead of he doesn't understand, that the allegation doesn't only affect the police force, but I think it affects the young man even more.
Yeah.
It affects him even more because he might stay there. Okay, nothing is done during the time of the Social Labour Party.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows, tomorrow the United Workers' Party comes into office. And I can promise you that we will not just talk like I'm talking now. Action would be taken. So if we were to come back and I have anything to do with any ministry involving the police, the first thing would happen is that I would get somebody from the FBI or Scotland Yard to come down and investigate this matter for me.
Wow.
It would be done.
I mean, this is the best news for the night.
Yeah. Because it would be in his benefit too. Because if it's proven that the persons were just lying, then he'll be exonerated. His career can continue. He's a bright boy. I can tell you that. He's a bright young one. Right? But he's very arrogant. Right? Very, very arrogant. And sometimes seem to have no manners whatsoever. I can tell you that. But, you cannot allow this cloud to take. And let me go to my own personal thing. Because I don't just say things. I have lived it. I have done it. And so I can speak about it. So when people would come and talk and say, well, no, I never did this in my life. And this has never done that. I never did. No. I'm not a saint. I have my fables too.
All of
but
us.
I will report. I will tell you, yes.
Yes.
When in 2001, I should have I would have been maybe commissioner. And there was this incident between my wife and myself. Okay? My wife never made a report.
Yeah.
Never made a report. Rick Wayne was the one who wrote an article in the Star. And then at the time, there was a deputy commissioner from Canada. Okay? And when he saw that, he took the newspaper and he brought it to Mr. Nelson, who was commissioner. And so we had a normal Gazette officers meeting on a Monday. Sorry.
Yeah.
And Mr. Nelson told him, but there was no report made. So what is he talking about? He said, no, there's no report made, but this is in the public domain, and it should be investigated. So I should be removed from the portfolio of discipline and crime and sent to operation. And Mr. Nelson then decided to agree with him. And I told Mr. Nelson, but sir, what are you doing? You want to transfer me from discipline and crime to operations? I said, but who gave you that authority to do that? So he said, what do you mean? I said, no, I want to find out from you who gave you the authority to transfer me to another department. He couldn't answer me. So I said, but sir, did you appoint me as the ACP crime? He said, no. I said, the public service appointed me. So if you want to transfer me, you write to the Public Service Commission, give them a report and a reason why you want me transferred. But we are St. Lucians together. That's what I told him. I am not going to put any discourse between us for the deputy commissioner. Let the deputy commissioner do what he has to do. Do not interfere. Allow the man to do his work. And I proceeded on vacation. I went to United States of America. That's how much I didn't want to get anything to do with it. That deputy commissioner took a statement from Kenny Anthony. He came to take a statement from my ex-wife. And he came about twice or three times. And one time when he came, my wife told him that the next time he comes there, she will send him a lawyer's letter. Oops. And I think Richelieu was the one who sent him a lawyer's letter. That's how far it went. When he was leaving St. Lucia, he called me aside. I said, Hermangild, let me tell you something. From the time I knew Mr. Nelson was going to leave, I knew you would be the commissioner because I could have seen it. You have the ability. You're way above them other fellas. But there are at least two of these guys in the police force there now, senior officers, that don't like the best bone in you. And whatever they can do to get rid of you, they will do. All right? He mentioned the names to me. I will not mention them. One of these days I will. When I write my book, I will. Yep. And then when he is going, he gave me a book, Change Management, and he signed it for me. All right? Signed it for me. As life goes on, I was in Antigua for a meeting as the minister. And when I got to Antigua, I met him there as the commissioner. Yes, and we had a good chat. We enjoyed ourselves and so on. But that is what is happening in thing. So you have to allow. So had I not done that, had I just stayed and fought with the deputy commissioner, people will still be saying a lot of things about me. Although they still say it. Right? Although I gave every opportunity for that matter to be dealt with.
Right.
Okay, in a way, maybe most of them wanted it to happen. They still say it about me. They still say it.
And I believe you would have been a damn good commissioner.
Yeah, far less. Far less. Yeah. Although there's a gentleman that I admire so much and I love so much, Mario Michel. Justice Mario Michel. Okay. Once I met him at the airport, he and another judge were going to St. Vincent for Court of Appeal. And I was going to Barbados. And we started talking. And he said, Hermangild, imagine, you didn't become deputy commissioner, but you became the minister. I said, well, that's how life goes. So I threw one back at him. I said, well, imagine you never became prime minister of St. Lucia, but you became a judge.
That's funny.
Yeah. And then he said to me, well, Hermangild, you know what's going to happen? We are going to go down in history as the best two deputies.
Yes.
So yeah,
My God.
I've never made myself to be out. I've never looked at myself being entitled for anything. I've never fought, deliberately fought with people for position. I will not do these things. If it comes, it comes.
But
All right?
yeah, but let
And
me
I will
ask you.
only take a position where I think I'm comfortable with.
Yes, let me ask you because I wanted, as we're on the police, to touch on this problem that the police force have been experiencing for many years, and that is the promotion of officers, the selecting of a commissioner of police. We have always witnessed major problems when it comes to getting a commissioner in place. Right now, we have an acting commissioner. We have always have a problem there. What is the problem in the force? Do we need to reorganize, revamp,
I think that is why
rebrand?
that's why we changed the promotion policy. The
Mm,
promotion policy that was there, it really skewed the promotion policy.
mm.
But let me go back in the history and I'll tell you.
Yeah, talk to me.
So when I was a young police officer, there was some sort of rhyme or reason to people getting promoted,
Hmm.
especially to the higher ranks. So for you to become assistant commissioner, you would have had to be the officer in charge of the Northern Division, superintendent,
Hmm.
or superintendent of the Southern Division. That was the benchmark. So most persons you saw becoming superintendent North or superintendent South, they were the next persons in line for ACP. There were courses in abundance given to these officers. So we had Jamaica um, Junior Command Part 1, Junior Command Part 2, and then Senior Command. You had to do exceptionally well on the Junior Command part for you to be selected. I was selected to do both, and when I did it, and then I was selected to do the Senior Command. I was the valedictorian on my Senior Command, you know.
Hmm.
I remember Mr. Paswa, Commissioner, being in Jamaica on a senior course, Sparks. He was there. And the night of the ceremony, I saw him coming running up to the school. I said, but Vernon, what happened? He told me, man, boss, I was so proud of you. I said, proud of me for what? He said, man, everybody he met coming down the road is you they're talking about. Oh, this Jamlu. And that's how they used to call me, Jamlu. Because I got acquainted with these fellas, I would do things with them and so on. And that is one of the reasons why they chose me. And he's telling me, man, you're so happy the way they spoke about me and so on. And after that, I changed and we had a night out in Jamaica. All right. But our officers don't have it now. So we have to go back to that sort of thing. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. So in the older days, you had people like Chico, Mr. John, all these guys were certified. John was actually writing in the FBI documents when it comes to fingerprints. That's how good he was. You understand? Mr. Black, Barrow, my father, all those persons, they were trained, they were given all the necessary training. All right? I was an instructor in Barbados.
Oh,
I know,
wow.
and I mean, and when I went to Barbados as an instructor, I went there in December of 1 year, and the course was just about finishing because we had sent a sergeant there, and something happened to him, and he had to come back. So Mr. Gustin asked me whether I want to go. I said yes. Anything you ask me to do, I'll do. And I went to Barbados. When I came back in the January the following year, okay, I was made the chief instructor for class 1, and I asked the commandant at the time. He just died there. God bless his soul, Mr. Watson Lee. I said, Hermangild, you were a best recruit. You were one of my best students and so on. And today you're here as an instructor. You must be one of the class instructors. And I took it. And out of 4 courses, David, I had 3 best recruits successfully. Well, I mean in sequence. The first
Yes.
was a young lady from DVI. The
Hmm.
second was a gentleman from Barbados. And third was a young lady from Barbados called Christine Holder. Right now, I think she's an assistant commissioner in Barbados. So I take my job very seriously. I do my very best. When I went to the FBI, I aced everything. People couldn't understand that. When I came back and I told Mr. Linwell James my results, he said, no, Hermangild, you can't do that. You can't get that. So I had to I faxed it to him, and then Vel and John invited me to his office, and we had a party there. You understand? So people have to, that's the sort of things that you get when you go out there. Because you want to do the best, you want to do it. So when you come back to your home, you're well organized. So the training school that we have in St. Lucia, Mr. Nelson and myself opened that training school.
Whoa.
And funny enough, I opened the training school. I was a constable. Mr. Nelson was an inspector, and he chose me, a constable, to be an instructor. And nobody wanted to promote me in St. Lucia, because I spoke my mind. You understand?
And still do.
I was not, and I still do. I don't tolerate anything. So I give you an example. Right? We officers we had a khaki uniform. I was at university. And when I came back, I saw the guys wearing black and white. And I said, but why is that? They said, well, the commissioner said that you must wear that. And he chastised a lot of officers for not wearing it. So I said, well, I'm not wearing it. And what's his name? Francisgild, the minister, asked me why I'm not wearing it. And I told him, but sir, that's illegal. The commissioner cannot change the uniform of the gazetted officers. It's only cabinet that can do that. And so we met at Hotel La Top, and Kenny Anthony came to address us. And I'm sitting at the head table for food. And he looks at me and he says, but why are you not wearing a uniform? I said, sir, I'm not wearing a uniform because it's illegal. And he turned to Francisgild and asked Alex, is that true? And Alex said, yes. Hermangild has always been adamant that he's not wearing it. Okay? It's not that I was fighting the commissioner, but I was protecting myself because as a police officer, that if I walk down the road in uniform and I see something, I would take action. And then you're going to sue me for wearing the wrong uniform? No, that ain't going to happen. And so eventually it went back to the khaki. But we need police officers like that. And people tell you that, the politicians interfere with the police force. The politicians can only interfere with the police force if you have weak police officers, weak commissioners, weak senior officers. Okay? There's no way that you will think. All right? I remember a police officer from Mikud used to go to Viford at the hotel and get food every time. The commissioner, Mr. Phillips, at the time says, okay, when you're on duty, he doesn't have a problem with that, right? But the guy was going there on his off days. All right? And so the people reported him, and he went to Mr. Phillips. And Mr. Phillips said him, well, the next time he does that, he'll fine. Okay? And that happened exactly what Mr. Phillips said. He did it. Lo and behold, Sir John came in, and Sir John told him that he has to take the man back in the police force. And he openly said to Sir, well, it's either he coming back or I go. But I will not be in the police force and he'll be in the police force. And Sir John said, well, I agree with you. So you can stand up to the politicians, all right?
But this prime minister,
if they are doing something different.
But this prime minister said he will not interfere in the runnings of the police force. But we see something different based on what you said to us
completely
earlier.
Completely different. Now, sometimes I think I had some issues with the police because I was a police officer. So sometimes they would do certain things, and then I would chastise them. All right? Or I would really come down and say, well, but you all did that. All you all did that was wrong. It should have been done that way. And that is the reason why you should have somebody who understands policing, who understands the law. Otherwise, you're not making any sense. And I feel sorry, honestly. I feel sorry for the Honorable Prime Minister because I do not think, and if you look at the way the ministry was cut up, he gave Virginia Home Affairs, he gave the Attorney General Justice, and for 6 months there was no Home Affairs Minister. What does that tell you? It tells you that he could not find anybody within his cabinet, his 15 members, to give that post to. Kenny Anthony, all the criticism of me, had a good opportunity now to show Hermangild how he should manage a Ministry of National Security. But he ran away from that too.
Yes, he did. But let
Then
me ask you.
yes.
Let me ask you. Looking at government, going back to government, right, and the different ministries and ministers responsible for the different agencies of government.
Yeah.
The Minister of National Security. How would you rate him right now?
From what? From 1 to 10?
1 to 10, yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know if I can get off the mark, you know. I don't know if I can get off the mark there. I'm on the ready.
Try.
Okay.
You can go off the scale if you want.
No, I'm trying to go off. I can't move.
You can't move.
No, I can't move. You know? I mean, the Prime Minister makes some statements and says certain things that I really don't understand where he's getting, his logic.
Yeah.
He actually said once that he recommended to me to have a symposium on crime. And you know what he said next? He said, the minister listened to me. The minister actually listened to me and had a symposium on crime, which he attended. And it was right, he attended. Richard Frederick attended, Gabion attended, and so on. He said it. Now, if he had remembered, you can remember that. Why are you not remembering that if persons now are giving you suggestions as to how to deal with certain issues, why don't you now decide that you are going to embrace that person? So let me give you an example of something. In 2013, right? In 2013,
yes,
CARICOM Crime and Security Strategy, and the heading was Securing the Region. That was on the 18th to 19th of February, 2013, in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And I remember making a statement that there were gangs in St. Lucia. And Ernest Hilaire, again, the all-knowing minister, came out and said, but if you know there are gangs, why are you not going to arrest the fellas? And I
that was in 2013.
2013, they had this meeting, And look on chapter 3, advancing our regional security priorities. Tier 1 threats, transnational organized crime, trafficking in illegal drugs and illegal guns, right? Gangs and organized crime, cybercrime, financial crimes, corruption. It's there in 2013. I didn't say it. What I said is that St. Lucians are not trained, or we don't have enough information or intel on the workings of a gang to be able to deal with it. So that's where you need training. There's a particular doctor who works in a regional organization. He's St. Lucian. But I didn't get his permission to mention his name, so I'm not going to do it. But if he wants to come forward, he will tell you that we're already in the process, like Trinidad did, okay, with the commissioner that was there. Actually brought in some old Scott FBI people to deal with the gangs in Trinidad. And you saw what happened. The crime rate went down drastically in Trinidad. These guys were supposed to come to St. Lucia in the middle of 2019. But what did we have? We had COVID.
Yeah.
So they couldn't come. And as I am that now, let me just say, is that, it's going on 3 years now. The St. Lucia Labour Party is in office, but yet still they make excuses. I never made excuses. I just did what I had to do. But they're still making excuses. Imagine people are saying that in 2019 and 2020, okay, we did not put any allocations for the police, borderly and the fire for training. Imagine that.
I heard that. Yeah, that was.
That's what I'm saying.
Funny.
I mean, how more ridiculous can that be? How can you have this kind of training in groups of people when there's active COVID? But again, the Labour Party never said. They said that there was no COVID. They had the match.
They never accepted.
COVID,
yes,
there's COVID. Okay.
Yep,
until it hit them in the face. But that is what I'm saying. Why are you going to be saying those sort of things when you know better? For what? For political gain?
Yeah.
and then you kill in the country.
That's right.
You know, and that's why I tell you, that's why you read from the newspaper. The very same thing I say, I'm saying it to you tonight. I have not changed a word. I've not said anything. Because when you are speaking the truth, you don't have to remember what you said.
No.
You just continue because you know that is what you said. So, I mean, as a police officer, I knew certain things that were happening. Okay? And then for the Prime Minister to say that he knows who the persons are behind the crimes. And Ernest Hiller never said anything. You know? Look, it's
The
right
Prime
here.
Minister did.
Yeah, he said it, and Ernest never said, well, Prime Minister, I mean, you should have said that, you know. Maybe he told him that in private, I don't know.
But then he said he went to the police and report. So I'm not sure where he got his information from.
And you really believe that the Prime Minister will take his time and go to any police station? Well, I know maybe he'd have told Philip, you know, because they're very close. So he might have told him.
Maybe he told him
Yes,
something.
so, yeah, he told him something, you know. And like you were right, you know, when they're appointing the commissioner, the constitutional senator gives the minister, the Prime Minister, the final say. All right? And people might say that is wrong, but you as a Prime Minister should have the confidence that this guy is going to work as hard as possible to make you look good. And if you have information that this guy is going to deliberately make you look bad, what do you do? That's the reality. What do you do?
Yep.
Okay? All right. So what we are doing is that every Monday, we had a team of police officers, I think she's a lawyer, two lawyers, sorry, and another gentleman who is very good into IT and so on. And we would quiz the police officers as to what we're going to do for next week. And then they would give us a projection. So they'd say, okay, we had house break-ins 20 last week. We had 25 stabbings. We had 4 murders. We had this. They will say, okay, next week, we want to see the house break-in get down by about 5.
Yeah.
So we had targets. And they were working. You know? They were working. And that is why we never went back to the 60 in 2017. 2018 was 45. 2019 was 50. 2020 was 43. Now, like I said, I don't like quoting these numbers because as far as I'm concerned, these are way too many numbers.
It's way too high. Yeah.
Way too high.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking any comfort in it, but I'm just showing you that when you deal with politics, and you want to mix crime with it, then you're going to have an issue. You said all those things about me. You said everything that you could have done. And look at it now. You know?
It is.
I don't even quote the figures, this last set of figures. I don't do it because it's depressing.
It is. Yeah.
You know, it's depressing. It's my country. It's our country. And if I can help, I will help.
Yeah.
Okay? But at the end of the day, we should not, and people tell you, don't politicize crime. But crime is a political issue.
It's a political issue,
it's a political issue.
It is.
Because that is the government's, forte, to make sure that they reduce crime as much as possible and keep your citizens safe. And the Prime Minister said it, and I applaud him for that. Yeah. Okay? But then next day he goes and says something else.
But he says the right thing and then he says something stupid after.
Afterwards, right? Yeah. I really don't know. And that's why I tell you, I feel sorry for him. He is not equipped to handle Ministry of National Defense. Because even as the Prime Minister there, you know, I'll tell you that, you know, he's in charge of internal security.
Mercy.
Yes, so I was the Minister of National Security and Home Affairs. But the Prime Minister, Alan Chasney, was in charge of internal security. Now, so you have a department called Special Branch. Special Branch only reports to the Prime Minister.
Oh, just like in St. Vincent, yes.
That's it. They report directly to the Prime Minister.
Yes.
So if there's a minister, so if I was as a minister, there was a certain suspicion on me, they would report it to the Prime Minister, and I don't know anything. You understand? Wow. That is how it should be.
Yes.
That is how it should be. So the Prime Minister knows about everything about his ministers. All right?
Yeah,
so when this Prime Minister says...
But that's scary.
It's scary because the Prime Minister is supposed to know everything that's happening in this country. So if you are giving out deals, you're making deals, okay, and you're giving out people's property for underprice and so on, the police, the special branch people, are supposed to give you certain information about an individual, so that you're on the lookout to see what's going to happen. I can give you a couple stories during our time, but I will not do it. But whatever happened is the special branch that spoke to the Prime Minister. I know nothing.
Yeah, the man they know nothing about nothing.
He
You know,
doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't know anything about it.
when
So
he's
when he allows Hiller to make him take out the K9, then that just tells him that somebody doesn't know what he is about.
that was not a
He should have
smart
told,
move at all.
he should have told Ernest, let me tell you something. But even if we don't do a lot of things the fellas did, but you see that, we can't touch that.
No.
If he has a little savvy about crime detection and crime prevention, he would have said so. All right? But no, he follows through. You now had a court of justice, halls of justice. You had an ideal place for it. You take it out. Now you're going to say you're going to do it in the middle of town.
And Kenny
Right?
Anthony is saying that's not a smart move.
But I'm telling you, well, I didn't hear Kenny Anthony, but if he did say that,
Yes.
then I'm supporting him 100%. That is chaotic. You have two buildings that are more mold than anything else in the middle of town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
And then I don't know if they're going to demolish them or renovate them and add a piece of the steps across. I don't know. All right? But you have an alternative. It is better to build a new building than start breaking down and doing all kind of things like that. It's similar to
so Mr. Francis, so they're not building a new structure.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. I didn't have the time to listen to the
all right.
Minister, so I do not know.
But let me ask you.
Ask him. Yes.
Something I wanted to ask you. I don't want it to slip me. The custody suite. What was the issue there with custody suite?
Again, custody suites was broken down because we were making room for the halls of justice, and not only the halls of justice. And I want the police officers to recognize that. It was not only the halls of justice; it was going to be a police headquarters too. All right. So it was going to be a hall of justice. Vis-a-vis, and next to it is going to be the police headquarters. And it's important too that you have that kind of security near your courthouse.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we are going to build the custody suites is going to be built in between the police and the court.
Sounds
so that
good.
on a weekend when the person is supposed to be coming down to Catchings for court the following week, they would have been there. So this nonsense, sometimes you see the vehicles want to kill people on the road to just bring prisoners to court. Would not have been a necessity again, because they would have been there. Okay, and then on the Friday, all those who are convicted, sentenced, and so on, would have been taken up, and then you make a trip down. So there's no necessity for people to just be driving and pushing people off the road to bring prisoners to and from court. All right. So that is it.
But the way the government made it sound is that you guys just got up a morning and decided to break down a very good building that has no problems and had no plans to do anything.
What? And again, you have to quote Kenny Anthony, hellhole of Calcutta. That's one of the good things that Kenny Anthony did, to take out that old prison and bring and build Bodley. He was criticized for it. Yeah. Okay, I never criticized him for it.
That was an excellent move.
But that was a very good move on his part. So give him his kudos.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that is what is happening. That's what's happening. The Grosley police station, kudos to the Prime Minister. Again, we had the renderings, we had everything for that police station. Okay? We didn't go on because of COVID. Right? And had we been there, that police station would have been finished. So I'm not too sure what was so fascinating about starting the Grosley police station. It was them have to be done. If you look at the budgets and the allocations of funds, you'll see the monies would have been there. So that is what it is. And a prime minister should not, when a country is not doing well financially and have all these problems just coming out of a COVID, period, to burden yourself with that. But at the end of the day, like I said, I feel sorry for him because he couldn't trust anybody else to do it. Or in fact, nobody wanted to take it on.
Yeah.
Nobody else wanted to take it on. And then he could not bring in somebody into his cabinet because you already have 15 guys. And the 2 that lost, you already make them junior ministers.
Junior ministers, yeah.
So, I mean, that is the issue. That is the issue. All right? And so it was at the behest of the United Workers' Party that after putting some pressure on the Prime Minister, he accepted the post of national security. But he's not suited for that. What is the acumen that he has to deal with national security?
Well,
I gave you some of the accolades that I have.
Yep.
Whether people like me or they don't like me, you can't deal with that. It's there.
We deal with the truth here. I believe that you were the most readied, like the Prime Minister said, readied, equipped for the job.
Equipped, yes.
Because you were in the system.
But that's what I'm telling you, I was. And I fought. I was a president of the Welfare Association.
And exposed on the...
And let me tell you something. I gave Sir John the most pressure. You understand? Let me give you an example of what happened between Sir John and myself. When, I can't remember which commissioner was left the force. And Sir John came to the police headquarters, the canteen. And he sat on the podium, the stage, and we at the bottom. All the senior officers, like the assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner, and so on, were there, except Mr. Vonel Augustine, who was in special branch. So you had to make sure that the Prime Minister's welfare is protected. So he was not up there.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister addressed us and said that he came to tell us that he is going to appoint a commissioner from overseas because he cannot see a commissioner in St. Lucia. And let me tell you something. I mean, you're going to drop a pin and you don't hold it. Everybody was stunned. Nobody said a word. And Sir John sat back, and I waited. I looked at the senior officers. I looked for everybody, and nobody stood up. So again, me, stupid Hermangild, I decided to stand. And I stood up. I was a sergeant at the time. I said, "Excuse me, sir. My name is Hermangild Francis. I'm a sergeant of police number 68. I know when I'm finished speaking here today, I will never get promoted in the police force again, but it doesn't matter. Because I've never heard so much hogwash."
Yeah.
And he looked at me. I said, "Imagine you actually coming here in the presence of these senior officers and saying that to them. But I forgive you because if you notice, not one of them has stood up and walked out. None. But I'm telling you, had I been sitting at the back there, I'd have walked out on you." And then I gave him a history of the police force. I said, when you go to Viewfort police station and the guys are in the kitchen downstairs cooking, and you get toilet water coming down and falling on the guy's food and so on, you expect the police to do any better? I tell them, you can bring Jesus Christ here. Unless you don't change the conditions under which the police officers work, you will not get anything. All right? And he looked at me. I spoke for about 20 minutes, As soon as I finished, he just got up and he walked out. He walked out. And then Mr. Augustine came to me, and Mr. Augustine said, "Well, Hermangild, I rate you, I love you, but I'd have taken you to work with me in special branch, but they malquap power if they ought to." You understand? So, that I'm telling you, that's what he said to me. But Sir John, to his credit, never took any offense. As a matter of fact, when I was going to university, he would speak to Mr. Nelson. Every time he would tell Mr. Nelson, "How is your Hermangild? Give him my regards," and so on. And that was the caliber of the man.
Wow, yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
And the funny thing now, Garfield, is Mr. Hemingway, who promoted me to inspector?
Who's that?
Hemingway. He was the white guy they brought down.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
And he was the one who promoted me.
Whoa.
He promoted me to inspector. Imagine that. You understand? He's the one. And he's the one, his promotion I was questioning.
And then he's the one who... Wow. Well, such
You
is
know,
life.
that's such in life. You know.
Yes, yes. Let
So
me ask you
I just
before we take two
wonder.
calls.
Yeah,
Before we take two calls,
yeah,
right? Folks, you can
no
call. The
problem.
number is 347-623-9183. That's the new number to get online. 347-623-9183. You can call now. Mr. Francis, have you heard of the Countryman tape or video, whatever it
Yes,
is?
yes, I've seen a couple of them,
What are your
and some of
thoughts?
the names. Well, some of the names that he's mentioned in there are known people, known individuals with criminal records
You think
and
he's
so on.
credible?
But to a certain extent, yes, I think he is. I mean, he could not have come up with some of the things that he came up with there if he didn't have proper information. But I think it is a little far-fetched with some of the things he's saying, but it is of great concern to me, and I think that it should be of great concern to the government of St. Lucia. If, like I said, we maybe don't have the police officers who have the capacity to investigate a matter like that, that we can spend some money bringing in some experts to see how they can look into that without maybe not deliberate to expose him, but to try and quiz him to get some more information and some positive evidence that we can work with.
As National
But
Security Minister right now, what would you do listening to that clip?
well, I would have called my police officers already, the senior officers, and to find out what they think about it. And then I would have looked at or solicited the assistance of the Jamaican authorities
Yeah.
and some other countries like the United States and England, because you have the FBI, you have the Scotland Yard. These guys can go into these sort of things and do some background investigations, not to expose him, but to see whether some of the things that he's saying are genuine.
Yeah.
But like I said, some of the individuals he's talking about, they are well known, and most probably they could be doing some of the things that he's talking about.
Wow. So I guess I'm hoping that the government, National Security Minister, he's already engaging, his people on these. And I have my doubts, honestly, because of his lackadaisical attitude when it comes to the police allegations against police officers. You see how he drag himself around to come back and tell you he don't know, he don't interfere in the police force, and people are just spreading rumors everywhere, lies. That's all he says.
But Garfield, that is, you must interfere, and that's why I say sometimes I tell you I have this issue.
Yeah.
With the separation of powers thing that we talk about, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. Because there are times that if you do not take the bull by the hand, you are going to get in trouble. So, like I said, with the allegations against the deputy commissioner, no commissioner of police would have to tell me, sir, I think we need to investigate that. I said, no, I will call you and say, hello, I want this matter investigated. If you want to call it interference, so be it. But I would direct you, okay, to get this matter investigated.
Yeah.
It is then for the police officer to say, sir, this might be a very difficult thing for me to be able to use my local police officers who may get compromised or they may be afraid to deal with this matter and so on. So I would need some outside assistance.
Yeah.
Is the government willing to give me that support with finance and so on? And then he should say yes. And then now you go overseas, you call the commissioner in England, you call the commissioners in one of the police stations in the United States, the FBI.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a director, you tell him exactly what you want. And they would assist. Because corruption in the police force, if we don't stamp it out, we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to go anywhere.
And something is wrong.
You're not going anywhere.
Mr. Francis,
so that is what I like.
Something is wrong with the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. I can tell you, I have a brother who is a police officer, and I love the police and I support them, but something is wrong with the police. I made a number of reports last year and this year concerning cyber threats from
Yes.
an individual who claimed that he speaks on behalf of the St. Lucia Labour Party. He's an online blogger. Threatens. I was threatened with violence and death. I was told that if I come to St. Lucia, certain things would happen to me. I reported it to the police in St. Lucia. I was asked to call this one, that one, that one. Up to this day, nothing. I had to speak to the U.S. officials in Barbados, who they themselves were very confused as to why the St. Lucia government or the police are not acting to protect one of their citizens.
Yeah. But you see, again, that's what I'm telling you, Gafford. Okay? That's again where the Prime Minister comes in. If he has the leadership qualities that is required when you're dealing with the police force. Regardless whether it was against the United Workers' Party or it's against his party, I don't know. I don't think the Prime Minister is involved personally in that. The Prime Minister would never get involved in this thing personally. Some people just take on their own because of who their friends are in government and feel that they're above the law. So if I was the Prime Minister, I would direct my police officers to take serious action on that. I would direct them to do that. They would have to do it. That is not interference. That is leading. That's leadership.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the person who is doing this nonsense doesn't even know Philip Japierre personally. Maybe has never spoken to him.
That's right.
But he has somebody in the cabinet there. And solutions are not stupid, you know. We know.
No. We can connect the dots.
We know exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And for you to say, well, that's not your creature, that's not your maker, you didn't make that. I mean, come on, man. You know.
But that same government minister came after me, insulted me online for my opinion. Also, that's from the government of St. Lucia.
Well, that was not his. That's not his creature. That's not his creature. He didn't create that one. So, but I've said to people, we get the government that we want, okay? And when you see persons who have this sort of characteristics about them lie with impunity, and persons can still come and vote for you, then you have issues.
Yeah.
And that is why the Prime Minister of Jamaica has said that he's not going to get any of these gang leaders involved in any projects for government.
That's right. That's leadership.
What's happening in St. Lucia?
That's a good question.
What's happening in St. Lucia?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And mean to tell me that the Prime Minister is not going to ask this guy, who is that person working on that custody suites?
Yeah.
Not going to ask him. All right? And that is the problem. You have a man who is supposed to be your attaché, who has a conviction for manslaughter. And that's why I mentioned earlier that there is the expungement board.
Yeah.
So the correct thing, and you're a minister, you don't want to advise him, the correct thing that should have been done is for him to apply to the expungement board, because he's been out for a while.
Yeah.
And saying that he's rehabilitated and he's this and he's that. The board will take that issue, listen to him, and decide, yes, well, okay, we think that he's rehabilitated, and quash that conviction. So now nobody would not even have been able to accuse him of manslaughter. Yeah. But you take the back road and just do things, and it's not right. This cannot be right for our country, because people might figure the Labour Party supporters may figure, well, boy, we're doing good, but the outside world is looking at us and saying, what kind of country is this?
Yeah.
What justice system that we have? How it can work? And talking about the justice system, I made a statement, and I will make it again. Let me tell you, I've always been consistent with what I said. When the CCJ was being introduced as our last court of appeal, I said that I support the CCJ. Right? I'm a very proud West Indian, a very proud Caribbean man.
Yeah.
And I think the integrity and the ability of our judges should not be in question. And I maintain that. There are things that are going to be done that we will see. But at the end of the day, how does a judge, looks at his own character, his reputation, his legacy, and do things that are not right just for political reasons, I cannot see that being done.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will not want to believe that it's being done.
Yeah.
Okay, people say it is, but I would not want to believe that it's happening. I have said that we have to start locally. It's just like a child. A child does not first get up and walk. The child crawls,
yeah.
pulls itself along, and eventually it walks, and then it runs, and so on. So what we should have done was to fix our local justice system.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that we had to look at. We had to look at the courthouses. We had to look at the magistrates. That's your first. That's the weak link, magistrates.
Yeah.
Anything goes there sometimes. Anything. You have a magistrate that does one case per day, and if she starts the case in the morning about 11 o'clock, by 2 o'clock she's tired. She goes home. These are things that are happening. These things are happening. And who are the persons in charge of the courts? That there should be a sheriff in the court. That when they give the magistrates cases, that the magistrate has to do at least a certain number of cases per week. Has to do it because you're not dealing with indictable matters. Yeah. Okay, you're dealing with summary matters. And the government can start looking at a small claims court.
Yeah.
So somebody who has a law degree and so on can just sit there. You have somebody borrow you how much money, you don't want to pay the money. Instead of they go and kill each other. You go to that court and the court will say, well, okay, you will have to pay $20 per month for how many months until you finish paying the bill.
Yep.
So that it doesn't clog the system.
The system, yeah. Right now the
Right.
system is just topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my very good friend, CIS, Mr. Springer, wrote and told me about Hermangild, but we can chew and walk at the same time. Yeah. I said, I agree with you. You can chew and walk, but trust me, we'll chew, but we'll not walk.
No.
And so said to them, nothing has happened since then.
Yeah.
And that is why bench trials, and that's why I premised my agreement with the CCJ, because I looked at the bench trials. Having bench trials, you would have had much more cases being dealt with in quicker time, right? The second thing is that the judge now has to give a written judgment. Having to do a written judgment gives a lawyer more leeway to poke holes in the reasoning of the judge.
Yeah.
Whereas in the jury, when the jury tells you you're guilty, that's it. All you can say, well, you're looking at the judge's submission on how he directed the jury and so on and so on and so on. Yeah. And that's your only point. But when the judge writes a decision, you can poke holes in that decision. That's where the CCJ comes in. Because more cases are going to go to them, and so you get it in quicker time. But nothing has gone to them. I think, well, I was informed that Alan would have gone to the CCJ on this case with Leahy.
Yes.
All right, but I'm not too sure. But
yeah,
it's a good thing. Let us get another view.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
but that is why persons are going to continue telling Ernest a lot of things about that vehicle, and he will not be able to do you anything.
No.
Because the day he wants to sue you for making certain statements, all right, the whole truth about that vehicle will come out. Has to come out.
It got
exactly has to come out.
Yeah.
And then, based on all the evidence that comes out in the vehicle, that is why the judge will now be able to convict you, for libel and these other things. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we have to look at what's happening. We have to look at what's happening. So I would recommend to the Prime Minister, as quickly as possible, if he can get, because I heard the dogs are now in Jamaica, if he can quickly get somewhere to get at least 2 or 3 dogs, and let's continue to work.
Well, he got
on this,
the Prime Minister made a big announcement. He said he got a dog. He got a little dog in Martinique. It's not trained, so they get back the canine unit.
Yeah, so you have to bring back the canine unit.
Yeah, but
as quickly as possible.
But can the one untrained dog form a canine unit?
Well, you can start with one, because that's what he has.
Well, he also said, I don't know if it's 1 or 2.
He will find, I don't know. He will find money to do every other thing.
Yeah.
Jazz, everywhere, so Fred Bravo, no everywhere. But he'll not find money to put the safety of the people first, you know?
Yeah,
And
that's
that's where we
true.
have to, that's where we have to prioritize.
Yeah.
This country is in chaos. Okay? We have a commissioner of police. I mean, the lady is a good lady, but what can this commissioner of police tell you about crime? What? What? You know, how do you investigate crime? What? How do you stop it? What can she tell you about it? If you ask about her background and ask her how many months or years did she spend in CID or in this department and that department, you'll be shocked.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be shocked. So in this time, you need strong leadership.
Strong
You
leadership.
need
Yeah.
somebody when the public hear his name or her name, then ding. So let's look at somebody like Francis Henry. Had Francis Henry been in St. Lucia and that job was offered to her and she took it, I'm telling you that people would be feeling a little more comfortable because she was a no-nonsense police officer.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
tell you, all of us have our
I
own
always say
little things.
that. I always say
But
that.
I'm
She
telling
would
you
have been
that
a
she would have
good
been a
choice.
different. Exactly.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I agree in a way. If you're offered a job, and but like I tell people, if you offer me a job and I know I can't do it, I will not take it. All right,
True.
I will not do it. So
But let me
she has
ask
no
you,
excuse for
if
taking
you
that
be,
job.
if let me ask you two last questions, right? Not that I'm going to throw
Right.
you under the bus, you know.
No
I
problem.
love you too much to do that to you. Um, uh, if the United Workers' Party, or when the United Workers' Party is successful at the next general elections, if you are called to take back the mantle of national security minister, would you do it?
Oh yeah, with a plum.
Mm.
Because there were lots, like I said, there were a lot of things that I wanted to do, and because of time, we were not able to do it. So one person said that I took out the vote for the police and bodily and so on. They were very, very unfair to me. So if I were to get the chance now, I'm sure the Prime Minister would make sure he give me my vote for training,
That's
right?
right. Mm.
Um, and again, with a consultation with the senior officers and of the police force, I would have an idea as to what are the courses that are necessary for police officers. We have this scourge of the firearms that I told you about the Chief Justice in Barbados. So that's one. But we also need, because of the gangs, you also need persons who can work undercover.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The days of just waiting for people to tell you certain things, people not doing that again because of the witness protection. And I know both governments have gotten pressure on this witness protection. But again, if you sit back and you listen, you discuss it with police officers and so on, they will tell you how difficult it is.
Yeah.
We had a matter where we wanted to send somebody to France. Good. And the French said, yes, they're going to do it for us, they're going to do that, they're going to do this, and they're going to do that. But when the person gets to France, they're going to give the person a house, but the government has to pay the house for the person, all the utilities, everything.
Yeah.
All they were giving you was just pushing you in a house, letting you stay, but the government has to put everything.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not an easy thing. Yeah. So you can't send the person too close to St. Lucia. If you send them to Martinique, the chances are that the St. Lucians will get to know that person is there. You know St. Lucians already. When they're somewhere, they're all about. So you're gonna know. So it has to be an area. The Americans has never offered. Okay, the English has never offered. So when you hear people talking about this thing, it's not very easy. Yeah. Right? I remember we had a young lady who had seen some crime, and we had to put her in a home, in a house. All right? And then when you hear the shout, we used to see her in the market and dance. No, you're laughing at it, but it's serious.
It's funny stuff.
At the end of the day, somebody followed her home. Good? And then we had to give her a police officer, had to stay with her. Right? And what happened? She chose the police officer, and she had her reasons for choosing that police officer. And at the end of the day, that police officer was almost charged for beating up.
Oh boy.
So
Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
these situations are good. And Mr. Daisy will tell you, there's a young man somewhere, out there. And then every time he calls and he said, in fact, his mother comes to us and says, well, he has not received any money from since this and that and so on, and he doesn't have, and so on. And I beg Mr. Daisy and tell him, well, look at your allocations and see how you can squeeze to give somebody for him, because we don't have any money at any other place. And he would do it. And it ended up that certain months have to give the mother money for him.
Yeah.
Because I know she's in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Okay? There's this girl there with the mother name, the Leahy.
Oh.
The Leahy killing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The mother of the Leahy, of her daughter, Kimberly. I gave this lady open access to my office. At any time, she would come to my office and sit there for hours discussing and speaking. But I am not the police.
Yeah.
Okay? We'll discuss certain things and see how we can put things in place for her. Yeah. But I always give her a listening ear. And she can, if she's listening to that, she or somebody tells her that, she can call tomorrow and see that it's not so. Okay? But I know she'll not be able to do it because I had discussions with her.
Yeah.
So, I am a practical person. Okay, I'm not all that educated like some of the persons that have their doctorates and all these other things. I'm a practical individual.
Yeah.
Okay, when I see things has to be done, I do it.
Get it done,
and I don't ask anybody to do something.
No excuse.
That I maybe have not done or I feel might be too difficult to do. Yeah. Okay, I'm reasonable. We have discussions and we do certain things.
Yep.
But and this idea of not going to get involved with the police, there are issues.
You got to get involved.
National security, that you must get involved.
You have to get involved. Yeah.
You must get involved.
Because you can't say you're not involved and all you do is give them equipment and blah, blah, blah.
Equipment to do what? Yeah. And like I told you before, what Alan was doing, I'm going to give you the equipment, but you're going to tell me how more efficient you're going to be.
Yep, that's right. Give me a plan.
Because if you ask the public certain questions, they will tell you that they give them more vehicles for the first to line more. I'm telling you.
Because you're still here, we don't have vehicles.
Yes. So that's been telling you, so we don't have enough.
You used to here, we don't have gas, so we don't have tires.
When is enough? When are we going to say that is enough?
Enough, yeah.
That when every police officer has a vehicle, Yeah. So, I mean, we have to make the best of it, and we have to stop making excuses that we don't have this. When I was a police officer, people used to tell me that. So I'm in Vifford, and somebody calls and said, we're in Sozel and something has happened, and we don't have a police, we don't have a vehicle. And I'd call the officers at the station and say, but where's your vehicle? He said, well, it went out there. And I said, that's the only vehicle? Yes, that's the only vehicle. I said, what about Sufra? They said, oh, we didn't call Sufra. I said, but Sufra is the police force too. Call them and ask them to send one of the vehicles for you.
Wow.
That's the kind of cooperation. Yeah. If you were the Marine unit has vehicles there. They don't patrol at night, the vehicles are just parked.
Right.
Okay? So if you need a vehicle urgently, go and take one of the vehicles.
Get one, yes, that's right.
That is what the commissioner has to do. And the Prime Minister will look good when he has a good police force. You used to hear about old police officers. And people tell me, but why you have police officers like civil and police officers? I say, yeah, I agree with you all. But the technology is such now that the tactics that these officers used to use, you can't use it now, because before you do something out of the way, you're caught in the camera and you'll have to pay excesses.
Yep.
Okay, so we now have to look at technology and this other thing.
Yes. Mr. Francis, our phone lines are not working tonight. Yeah, sorry about that. But I would love for the United Workers' Party government getting into power. I hope that they can also deal with the impacts report. Close it once and for all.
Yeah, I can tell you that if I ever get there, I would, because like I said, when we started, we had nothing.
Yeah.
There was no window to say, well, we're going to open that window, take a little air. Nothing. We have gotten to a stage where now police officers can take part in exercises. Yeah. Okay, and all that has to happen is for the Americans to see that this government is serious, that there's no corruption, there's no allegations about ministers and so on. And I think they will support.
Yeah.
They will support. Now, some people were telling me, but you always talk about the US. What about the UK and so on? And I said to them, when the Leahy Law is placed on us, Europe would not go against the Americans. They will not. Okay, they wouldn't take a chance. So now that England is no longer in the EU or whatever it is, then maybe we can approach them. Although I was told that one person went on the course there, so I don't know who, but a very high-ranking police officer was sent on that course because they believe that by taking him out of the force for a little while, out of the eyes of the public, that the public are going to forget.
Yeah.
And that is not going to work. That is not going to work.
That's not, no.
It's not going to work. Not at all. Yeah. So there is a lot of work that we have to do. And I implore the public not to believe that whatever we give the police, that it will be solved in the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. It's going to take a little while for us to get back a very good police force.
Yeah.
All right. The training of our officers has to be both local, regional, and international. Unless we don't do that, we will not make it. They need to have some succession planning. We also need to do some cross training by taking police officers from St. Lucia, send them to Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, let them work with some senior officers there, see how things are done, and then come back and see how you can implement it. Because it's for the betterment of everybody. I don't want to. I not criticize anybody just for criticism's sake. No. That is why anytime I speak about certain things, I give you an alternative as to how things can be better.
Yes, sir. So thank you so much for being here tonight with us. We do apologize. Maybe the next time, and I want you to feel free to use the platform as much as you would like. I think you have a good message. You are well informed, and I believe that you would do a great job in organizing the national security of the country again. So thank you so much.
But before you go, Garfield, can I just make one final point?
Yes, sir.
I want to recognize the contribution of Dr. Witt to the St. Lucia Police Force.
Yeah.
Again, that's where the person like Chico, who was the president of the Welfare Association.
Oh boy, a good friend of mine.
Worked with him.
Yes.
Yeah, worked with him, and a very progressive president.
Yeah.
I mean, we had our little fights and so on, but at the end of the day, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
That if you need certain things and the minister not giving you, then you have to, start to do things. He got in touch with Monroe College. He got in touch with the Mon to get police officers properly educated and these sort of things.
Yes.
That is some of the functions of the president of the Welfare Association must take on. So I really want to thank Dr. Witt. And I have recommended to the government that this gentleman is now in St. Kitts, working with the Prime Minister of St. Kitts.
Yes.
The crime down there is almost non-existent. And he has agreed that he doesn't have to come to St. Lucia. We can do what we just doing there now.
Yeah.
You can do it on Zoom, you can do it on WhatsApp.
He's willing.
He's very willing to give the government some views. Because like I said, no government should lose or win elections on crime. Cannot be.
No.
Because there are situations and times that things are going to go haywire, all right, and through no fault of yours. Yeah. But your statement, your actions must reflect that you are serious about dealing with this matter. You need to come out and tell the criminals, hello, what's going on there will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
Will not be tolerated. All right, and everybody must play their part.
Yes.
The judiciary must come to earth and recognize that without their assistance, that we just turning top in mud. Because you arrest the guys today and you bail in fellas for $20,000. $20,000. I think if you look at the fines and so on, it should be much higher than that.
It should be much higher.
Yeah. Much higher. Yeah. And like I said, like Sir David Simmons did in Barbados, for the first 6 or 7 or year, you can't get bail.
Yeah.
Okay, deal with the remand population, and let's see how we can see a reduction in what is happening in St. Lucia. So thank you very much for inviting me. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get calls.
Yeah.
But I think maybe on your show, some of the time, persons are going to call and tell you that you wanted Mr. Francis to answer this and answer that. And then you get a list of questions and you can come back one of these days.
Yes, so we'll do it again. We will, and I wish we can do it together with Dr. Powell and yourself together.
Yes, that would be good.
Yes.
That would be good. And even if we get somebody that supports the St. Lucia Labour Party on, and for us discuss it, because like I said, at the end of the day, it is very for our benefit that we can curtail this crime issue that we are having right now.
Yep. If something went wrong with our phone lines, even though I changed the number and I put up a new number, we got to look into what is happening here. But thank you so much, Honorable Francis, for your time, the information. We had great engagement on the platform tonight, and we will do it again, and hopefully we will have at least 2 phone lines running at the same time. But God bless you. Have a beautiful night. And to all our listeners, thank you so much for being here.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, thank you so much. Good night, my people. Thank you for being here with us.
Every single decision we have taken has been to fertilize.
Again, I just want to thank you for being here with us on the platform. We do apologize that our phone lines are down. It should be up for our next broadcast, but thank you, Honorable Francis, and all our viewers both on YouTube and on Facebook. We look forward to we have another guest that we will announce by tomorrow. We have a new guest that we will update you on right here. Caribbean American News Media Platform, the news you report. Have a beautiful night, folks.
Prosperity for today, and to sow the seeds of progress for our nation 10 years from now. Every budget we delivered, every investment we attracted, every infrastructural project we approved, and those we re-engineered are meant for our children, our future, our St. Lucia. The United Workers' Party. Let's keep working.